Shiva Namaya. Somebody during the week has inquired if their person is good enough, and how can I tell? I hope you understand the question. Somebody during the week when I am working, however, I'm working quite a bit during the week. So somebody during the week has inquired me that if they are good enough. You see, good enough can encompass numerous connotations. I hope you are understanding the question. Good enough can encompass numerous connotations. These two words, the statement which expresses something good enough, can be interpreted in numerous ways. I hope you understand their question, and I hope you understand my response to that question. That good enough carries numerous connotations. The meaning of good enough can vary from person to person depending who is looking at it. Just like everything else. You see, reality is very simple. It's just that you have to have the eyes to look at the way it's happening to you. So, by the way, as you have noticed, that first I made an opening statement. Everything is very amateur here, as you know. Everything is very amateur here. And I hope you understand the meaning of amateur. It means it is very real. When I speak with the humankind, when I speak with humankind, you the humankind, I don't have to pretend anything. I am in a state of meditation, and I have been in a state of meditation for last numerous hours, and still I have taken a heavy project, so I've been working full time during the days, so I don't get around to the inquiries. Quite a few inquiries have gathered. However, I always make time for humankind. You understand the humankind? I always make time for the humankind. Somebody has inquired me, yes, can you tell me excuse me, somebody has inquired me, yes, can you tell me if I am good enough? So as I said, that good enough, the meanings of good enough can carry numerous type of interpretations. It just depends who is perceiving the statement good enough. The meaning of good enough, the connotation of good enough may vary from person to person, from culture to culture, from society to society, or even within a culture, from different band of people to different band of people. Why are you so concerned what you think? This is in the response of what you have asked. Why are you so concerned what you think of yourself or what others think of you? You see, so I am answering your inquiry with a question, and the question is, why are you so concerned what you think of yourself or what others think of you? That's the statement. What you think of yourself or what others think of you, it does not matter as long as it's thinking. You understand? If you need to understand yourself, you have to go beyond the thought process. Understand that. You see, I am answering your inquiry. What you think of yourself or what others think of you is not you. You understand? As long as you are trying to find yourself through thinking. I do not mean to condone. I do not mean to condemn. There was some French philosopher. He didn't do a good job for the humankind, so there is no reason for me to remember him or his name. Some French philosopher said, I think, so I exist. You understand? This French philosopher, that's the way he was trying to understand himself. You see, you cannot understand yourself through a thinking process. This person, I am not condemning, I am open what he said, but when I look at it through the eyes of truth, when I look at it through the eyes of truth, I realize that what this person said, the statement of this person is not true. You see what I'm saying to you? This person said, I think, so I exist. But when I look at his statement, his statement can impress somebody who's very gullible. You understand what I'm saying to you? His statement can impress somebody who is very gullible, who cannot think for himself or herself. You understand? And so his statement can impress such a person. But somebody who can think for themselves, and I always encourage you to think for yourself. And same goes for me for the same reason. Do not accept, do not discard, just listen. So I listened to this French philosopher, or rather I read this French philosopher when he said, I think, hence, or so I exist. You know, however you want to say it, it actually points out to the same meaning. And I looked at that and I said to myself, well, there are rishis, there are yogis in India, proper one. There are wise men in India, in Himalayas. And you know, you shouldn't be even going that far. I will give you an example of myself. Half of the time during the day, I have no thought in my mind, not a single thought about myself or about anybody else. Half of the time or half of my day. Does that mean when I don't have a thought, I stop existing? I'm asking you a question. Look at that, what I'm asking. So the time when I had got a thought in my mind, not a single thought, does that mean that I stop existing or I cease existing? No. I'm existing absolutely, then even when I don't have a thought in my mind, and I exist then. So thought has nothing to do with your existence. If you need to go, if you need to understand yourself, then you need to go beyond the thought process. Thought or no thought, you are existing. Now you are asking me, what do you think? Am I good enough? Yes. So the answer, I'm now approaching it through a different approach. So the answer of your question is, I don't think. You see. And you say that, am I good enough? What I think. So answer to that is, I don't think about you or anyone else, including myself. And number two, what you think about yourself or what others think of you is not true, as long as there is a thinking involved. If you need to understand yourself, you need to go beyond the thought process. Thought or no thought, you still exist. You understand? Good enough carries different connotations, different interpretation. Am I good enough as far as what? You see, if somebody is raised in with a religion, you see, the human construct. Religion is a human construct. If somebody is raised in a religion, if somebody is raised as a religious person, are you following what I'm saying? If somebody is raised as a religious person, that person may think the concept of good enough means on the standard or the scale of morality. You see, the meaning of good enough means that I go to a mosque, I go to a synagogue, I go to a shul, I go to a church, or I go to temple, or I go to Gurdwara every week or every day. And in a certain religion, sometime you are bound to go 5 times or 6 times a day. You know, that's not my job. I'm not talking here I'm not talking here about human constructs, which is, every religion is a human construct. If somebody has been raised as religious, you see, their connotation or the way they would interpret good enough, it means, oh, go to church or any number of the places of worship, depending on what religion you have been raised in, or just go ahead and, you know, have good terms with your religious figure, whoever the religious leader is. Even, I mean, if it is a mullah, if it is a rabbi, or it's a pastor, or whoever, you know, am I in good terms with this religious figure? Or I have started some type of charity, and I even, you know, take pictures and post on social media to brag about myself and stuff like that, you know, artificial things. Well, of course, when you are following a human construct, you are bound to think artificial things or on the standards of morality. When you are being raised in human constructs, you are bound to think like that. So does that mean good enough means that good enough, you see? Or does that mean that I am followed or liked by a lot of people in the society or on social media? So am I good enough? Am I good enough as far as education? Am I good enough as far as wealth? Am I good enough in social circle? How I am seen in the society? What kind of personification or image people carry about myself? These are all the connotations or the interpretations of good enough, isn't it? But real good enough means that you don't, first of all, real good enough means you don't worry about what you think of yourself or what others think of you. You see, if you worry about what others think of you, everyone has a remote control to control you, and they can hook your attention anytime. They have a control on you. You understand? If you concern yourself with other people's perception of you, then you are a slave, to put it very bluntly. Isn't it? Isn't it a fact? No matter who you are, no matter what color of skin you carry, it doesn't matter. You are either, no matter who you are or what color of your skin is, you are a slave. If you concern yourself of other people's perception, that what they think of you, then you are a slave. You're not free. You have heard of Bob Marley. He was not only a brilliant singer and a music composer, but he was a very wise man. I know quite a bit about people. He said the excuse me. He said the hardest prison in the world is in the human mind. You understand what he said? He said the hardest prison to break is in the human mind. And that's very true. When you concern yourself so much with other people's point of view, then you are in that prison. Then anyone can hook your attention and you would go like a gullible animal right behind. Sorry, I'm being very blunt and I'm being very upfront, because that's how I am, and the very evidence shows you that I don't concern if I am good enough for anybody. The answer is you just become good enough for yourself, and automatically it would reflect those who would come into the contact with you. All you gotta do is just to be good enough for yourself. That's all you gotta do. You are good enough when you do not punish yourself by remembering a mistake you made 10 years back, 5 years back. You see, the excuse of your suffering is, oh, I made a terrible mistake some 5 years back. That's the excuse of your suffering, you see. So, you do not punish yourself by remembering the mistake you made 5, 10, 15 years back. Then you are good enough to yourself. You do not go against yourself, then you are good enough for yourself. You forgive yourself for the mistakes you have made. You are good enough for yourself. You see, you forgive others for the mistake they have made, then you are good enough for yourself. But in order to forgive others, you gotta forgive yourself first. You do not go against yourself. You do not self-abuse yourself by different substances or by different type of addictions. When you transcend the addictions, you forgive yourself. When you do not punish your body by overeating and addiction towards food, then you are good enough for yourself. Or you get rid of addiction and you transcend your addiction, then you are good enough for yourself. You see, eating, playing video games, or any type of different addiction, as long as it's not an addiction, it's fine. It's there. Eating is important for human body. Without eating, we cannot survive. But if it is not an addiction, it's fine. Video games, yes, it's a good way to entertain, yourself, or any type of movies or music. As long as you don't think that you are this, you are fine. You can use it, entertain yourself for some time. But life goes beyond and above. So when you go in accord with your life, then you are good enough. When you forgive yourself, then you are good enough. When you love yourself, then you are good enough. Self-love means you don't let anyone abuse you. And of course, you don't abuse anyone either. It's a given. But you do not let anyone abuse you. You have integrity about yourself. You have a respect about yourself. That's what self-love is. When you have that self-love, you are good enough. But always remember that we become good enough for parents. This is all human conditioning. Then we become good enough for our siblings, the friends around us. We become good enough for the religious figures. We become good enough for society. We become good enough for our spouse. We become good enough for just about anybody, but we don't learn to good enough for ourselves. So all that I have mentioned not long ago, when you are good to yourself, when you don't do the self-abuse, when you transcend your addictions, when you forgive yourself, and when you learn from your mistakes but move on, when you learn from your experience, when you focus enough on a particular scenario or scene, and you focus enough and you see what it is trying to teach me, then you are good enough. You see, and you are good. The only person you should be concerned if you are good enough is yourself. That's all. If you are good enough for yourself, it's automatic that you are good enough for other people. It's only natural. You see, that you would spread that love around. You would spread that transparency around. So just be good enough for yourself. Forgive yourself. Don't do self-abuse. Learn from your mistakes, but move on. You see, transcend yourself from the addictions. Keep yourself in good health and keep yourself in good shape. You see, try to explore yourself with yoga. Try to explore yourself with meditation. Then you are good enough. You see, there comes a time you carry so much energy that life becomes automatic and you feel like you are not even putting any efforts and everything is just falling together in your way. You see, I'm in a state of meditation. I don't have to think basically to answer your inquiry. All this is I'm saying without having a single thought in my mind. And think about the French philosopher, I think so I exist. I mean, come on, folks. You know, get a grip on yourself. These things are not going to take you anywhere. If you ever want to evolve, you need to go beyond the thought process and see what lies. If there is something lies beyond the thought process, then you would understand what you are, and then you would start learning to be good enough for yourself. All you have to be concerned is just to good enough for yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. You see, then you become good enough. So I hope you understand that I have answered your inquiry. Even though if you have any questions, you know, you can always ask me. You can write me anytime.